Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Technical SEO. Technical SEO. That's technical search everywhere optimization. You can call it engine optimization too, but it's technically how do you show up on the web servers and also on the websites that you would like to be on as a brand, as a business, in form of a link. So today's topic is technical SEO. Why is my website loading slowly? That's the question for the day. Why is my website loading slowly? Yours might not be loading slowly, or it could have been loading slowly before today, or maybe someday if it happens and this happens, you know where to go to. It's kind of like you have a toolbox. Whenever you want to use your toolbox, you can tweak it. So this is one of them, and I'm really excited about today's room because I want you to learn about how these tools can help you as a business, and also know, even as a website owner, what to do when your website is loading slowly. Because if you don't know these things and they don't happen, great. But if they happen, then you don't want to be looking left, right, like what's going on. So I want us to talk about this and fix this today. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you, Lindsay, Ali, B or Bye. Sorry if I said it wrong. Malcolm, Valerie, and also Shakambari. Glad to have you here. Bo and Son, thank you for being here. If you're listening for the first time, please, if you have a ticket, at the very top, it says Marketing Club, and you can follow the Marketing Club. Thank you, Bo. Appreciate you. Be here, connect. If you have any questions, put it in the chat, raise your hand. It's a free space, and I want us to connect. And I know the last time I was here was last week because I wasn't feeling too good, and I was like, why is it that my throat is feeling like this? Because I've been talking much and I've been traveling much. So I had to slow down and say, okay, you know what? Let me just treat myself, make sure everything is fine before I can come back and talk. Because it's been a very interesting last week, a beautiful week, and this week is even going to be better because you have to pronounce, declare, say the words to yourself so that you can also edify your words and turn them into an actual manifestation. And that's why when you say things, you watch things happen because you say them. So we are who we are because of what we say. So why am I saying this? Because all the things that we talk about, we do circle and create a feeling, and also creates an experience for us to know what we want to do in our lives, whether we're creating content for clients or creating content for consumers or creating content for ourselves. Whatever we're doing it with something in mind. So when you have these things in mind, you know where to place them, you know where to go. And most times you go to websites to do these things too. So when you look at a website and it's yours, it's not mine, it's your website, because I want to focus on you. When you have your website and you realize that you key in your website and then it's taking about 3 seconds to load or 5 seconds to load, or it's maybe janky and it's not feeling like it's moving fast enough, or maybe something is happening where you might be loading fast on your computer, but it may not be loading fast on your tablet. Things will be happening. You're just testing them out. One thing I can say for sure is that anything that is going to contribute to the success of your website loading fast is going to be dependent on, one, the hosting platform. The hosting platform. Because a website is just a website. But what makes a website a website is having the backbone behind it. In other words, backlinks, content, images, video, links, referrals, resources, tools. Those are the things that's going to make your website very, very credible. And also on top of that, you're creating more content for people to see on your website, but that doesn't mean you're slowing it down. So if you look at your hosting platform, right, there are different hosting platforms. There's GoDaddy. That's one of them. A lot of people know that. There's Namecheap. There is Hostinger. There is SiteGround. There are many others I could name, but they're out there, right? You could be using one of them or none of them, but you're using something if you have a website. You could be on Squarespace as well. That's another option too. So all these platforms are very specific to your domain and to your hosting, because on your website, you have information that you want people to see. And if people can't see that on their website, they leave. That's why some people have something called a high bounce rate. A high bounce rate means that I come to your website, one, I don't see what I'm supposed to be looking for. I can't find it. Two, it's not taking me there as fast as I should, because another website will take 3 seconds less to do, and yours is taking 3 seconds more to do the same thing. So people don't have time to wait for 3 seconds, because people's time is very valuable. And you want to respect their time by respecting yours. So what you do with your website is to create content, but also from a hosting platform that actually can control something called a bandwidth. I always recommend Hostinger. We build websites for clients. We manage websites daily. I look at graphs daily. Like these days, I just eat it for breakfast, because it's like I can see what's going on. I can read the graph. I can scale it. I can understand, okay, this is what's going on. This is the season. We're in September right now. Today, I believe, is the first official day of fall. So it's like a lot is going on. Life is lifing. Everybody's doing what they're doing. But at the same time, if you don't know what you're doing, then how will you know if you don't know? So how I'm showing up here is to make sure that when you're listening to this, whether on Clubhouse, whether on a podcast, whether through the web, you're able to still answer these questions for yourself and then see if you're actually doing them or not. And if you're not, then there are ways to make those changes. And we've seen that in so many ways and so many forms. So your hosting platform is very important. If you have it on GoDaddy, that's great. If you have it on these other platforms, that's good. Now, that's just one piece of the puzzle, or that's one piece of the cake. You need the whole cake for it to look like a cake, right? So when you start looking at the pieces around it, majorly, another thing to consider and look at when you look at your website is to know, okay, if this is a hosting platform, how much bandwidth do I have? And sometimes you may not see it, but I know a platform like Hostinger does it. Hostinger will tell you, like right now they have this deal, which is such a sweet deal. It's such a sweet deal that you pay about less than $150 and you get your hosting for 4 years. So you ask me, okay, what does this mean, or why would I even care? The reason is because when you look at platforms, you don't have to move. But if you have to move, or if you consider moving and you look at these options, I'm giving you one option. I mean, you can always do your research. But when I'm looking at this from the long-term perspective, when you start loading up your website with more and more information, more and more people will start coming to visit your website more and more frequently. That's what's going to happen, because you're going to start creating more quality content, which will drive more quality feedback, which will create more quality leads, which will get you more quality, period. Quality is what you're going to get, because you're creating consistency in driving factors, driving perspectives, driving incentives that allow people to take a second thought about what they're already first thinking about, but now you adding your perspective is like, maybe I should actually care about this. Because we look at it every day where clients would be coming, and right now we're actually about to move a client off a server because this is perfect example. We've been together for about a year now, and we always make sure that when we work with you as clients or as, businesses or, referrals, anything of that nature, I always 100% say that if we're going to work together and we're going to work with our team, work with your team, and we're going to put it together, majorly, the first thing that I'm going to focus on is making sure that you acquire your intellectual property. So with that in mind, I said, okay, you have your website, you have your ownership, great. We have access to it, we can manage it. We don't own it, we just manage it for you. Now, in the process of management, I got to know that he also has another team, but those teams are in two different categories. One is hosting, another one is something else. And I'm like, I'm just giving you context for today's room. So I'm like, okay, 1 year later, I get to know about this. And I'm like, okay, I kind of have the idea of where most people would be able to connect the dots and see, okay, we're going to create content for this purpose. And then when we hit a snag, that's when it becomes a problem. Because when you hit a snag and you can't access the server because the person who owns the server is not accessible in the first place, that's a problem. So you're losing money, you're losing time, which you're not getting back. And then energy is also being lost because you could have been using that energy for something else. So we make sure that we don't have these problems. But we're not going to stop having them. We just have to know how to have less of them. So the way to minimize those errors is to protect first. So I now asked him and I said, hey, where's this person? Can you get access to their cPanel? And cPanel just stands for control panel. I'm talking technical stuff because it's a technical room. So if you hear anything, just put in the chat and say, what was that? And I'll respond back. So when you look at technical SEO and you're looking at all these things, you're creating consistency in building attention and retention. So I asked him, how can we have access to the cPanel, the control panel? Because it's from that cPanel that we can get access to the backup data. We can have access to the actual blueprint of the website. Because everyone looks at your website and says, oh, it's a pretty website. But if that website is having broken links or permalinks or duplicate links or just toxic links, it's not going to fly. Because what's going to happen is your content is going to be so saturated with, I'll call it, what's the word I want to say that would be so relevant to this context? It would be so helpful, but unavailable. Meaning that the content that you're creating is very good. People can see it, but because of one or two errors, like your hosting may have a problem or the server may have an update failure, that could affect the whole thing. It's kind of like spilt milk, right? You can't get spilled milk back. It's spilled. So you want to make sure you avoid that even spilling in the first place. So we had to change the hosting, which we're about to do, because I had to say, okay, we have to move away from this hosting to this. And then on top of that, you need to own your own hosting, because I know, shout out to all the hosting servers and people who host for other clients. It's great. My thing is, if we're going to host for you, great. But let me have primary ownership of what I'm building. And that's where most times when you think about your website loading slowly, is because it's coming from these pointers. Because you're on somebody else's server, their server is overloaded with other servers, so you guys are doing a server control. And if one breaks, it all breaks. It's like a domino effect. So if you have access to your own hosting server, your own hosting server is giving you access to all that information at once. And at the same time, you're building the relationship with the person that's online because you're coming from a server that you can control. So when you have a good hosting server that has a good bandwidth, and let's say your bandwidth can host up to 100,000 visitors at a go, that's a good thing. Just imagine if your website was gaining so much traffic that it actually broke the internet. And imagine if it broke the internet and sounded like this. That's going to sound a little crazy, right? Because it's like, whoa, okay, I'm creating content, but it's not being seen, it's not being delivered, it's not being accessed. What's going on? It's the hosting. So imagine if you fix the hosting, that means your hosting platform is on a place where you can control the bandwidth, control the capacity, right? You can't sell out a 5,000 stadium to 20,000 people. It can't happen. So when you have that same concept and look at your website loading slowly, it's also based on those technical things. Another thing that you have to think about too, and why your website could be loading slowly, is because your website could be having numerous images that are not compressed, or rather, numerous images that are uncompressed. When you have an uncompressed file on your website, and an uncompressed file is like, I would say, let's say 30 megabytes JPEG file, when that could have been 5 megabytes or even less than 500 kilobytes. If you have a brick and mortar location, you sell items, but you also have an online store, and now let's say you have 50 items in your inventory. When you have 50 items in your inventory, some of those items in your inventory may have variations. So let's say there were 2 variations for 50 items, right? That's 100. So if there are 100, that tells me that you have a list of 50 links on your website, at least, that are product links. Out of these links, you also have images. So that means for every image, or rather, for every link, you have a corresponding image. Now imagine for every link now, you have a corresponding image times 2. Now do that math. Imagine if one picture is uncompressed and it's 5 megabytes, right? It's 5 megabytes, and that's 2 for one link. Now you have 50 links. That's 500 megabytes that you have added to your website's front loading speed. Because when you think about the internet, there's an upload speed and there's a download speed. When you type on the internet www.com or whatever domain name that is, you have pressed enter, and what you've just done is you're kind of downloading into the system. You're looking for an upload from the system. So you're getting a download and you're receiving an upload. So if I click on your website and now I'm receiving an upload that's taking forever to buffer, kind of like remember those days when you watch a YouTube video and then it's buffering? It's just taking time to load again. That's what's happening with your website. And someone's going to get frustrated and they're going to leave. That's why you have a high bounce rate. That's why your website doesn't load fast. That's why those things happen. So I'm just giving you scenarios that would make a difference if you're looking at it from that perspective. So when we now change hosting, like we're doing for a client, and they're doing so well, when you change those kind of things where they protect their intellectual property first, then you're able to scale your intellectual property because you have access to your control panel, you have access to your dashboard, you have access to the several engines, you have access to these places. Now you can see what's really happening, because in the control panel, it will tell you in the images tab, you have a file, just like you go to your local drive. If you go to your computer and you open your computer, you open any folder, you're always going to see a file size, right? That file size, imagine if that file size was on your website, and that's what people are spending to upload every time. So if someone doesn't have fast internet or fast Wi-Fi, it's not going to be easy for them to get into that, right? Unless you have like a fiber internet, or you have Starlink, or you have a high 5G, broadband. I think there's also 6G that's going to be coming out very soon. I just, keep learning these things as we go. You start realizing, if I can't load up this website, I can't load up this, it's not going to take some time. Great. But if it does, then somebody else is going to leave because those pages are loading up slow. So imagine you have 500 megabytes worth of actual image file size. That's a lot. Now imagine if you could only do 10% of that for the same amount of images and you only did 50. Just imagine if you compressed all your images and then instead of them being 500 total, they're 50 total, because each of them could be 5 kilobytes, some could be 50 kilobytes. So you've taken 10% of the actual full size. You've not lost the quality. You've not lost the effect. You've not lost the aesthetic. It's the same picture, just a different size. And that's the size that your website can get, so that when someone looks at that website and it loads fast. So when it's loading fast, you're able to build it that way. So when you create it that way consistently, by considering the file name and also the file extension, which is a JPEG or PNG or WebP, those things matter. The extension files matter because those extension files are talking to the algorithm, it's talking to the search algorithm, it's talking to the search database. It's like a library. You go to a library, all the books in history are going to be on this side. All the books about nonfiction are going to be on this side. You have everything there because it's all interconnected into a source code, right? So that's the same thing that applies to your website. When you have a sitemap, your sitemap has page sitemap. It has post site, author sitemap. It has product sitemap. These are sitemaps that are telling different things to the same algorithm, but in different ways. So it's really about how you're able to do this. So if you have any questions, please put in the chat. And if it's confusing, please say, so we can make this happen. What's up, Julie? Happy Monday.
Hey, Faves. Happy Monday. I am just listening because honestly, I really don't know what you're talking about. So I'm taking notes. You are the website expert. And if I have anything to add, I will jump in. But thank you for all your knowledge and expertise. Because, by the way, everybody, he's worked on so many projects with me and he has elevated all these projects. I just rely on him to do all this stuff. That's why I don't know any of this, because I just ask him to do it for me. So thank you. Actually, I pay him to do it for me. So thanks, Faves.
Thanks, Jules. Jules, you're amazing. You definitely have a lot of great knowledge that they don't know this, but they should. So this is something that you should definitely hear from Julie. Julie, I'll ask you this because this is also in good context to websites as well, especially when you think about writers and reading content. How important is copy? Because that could also depend on how somebody also shows it. And when I mean copy, not just in text, but using imagery or using like actual pictures to depict the same story.
Well, it's so important. Are you talking about on your website? Yeah, it's so important, and it's very important, which I've learned, is to put alt text on your images to be found, and to make sure you have descriptions of your images to be searchable on Google. So the more robust your website is, the better. The more context you can give Google or search engines and chat like AI indexers, the better. So give direction to Google, give direction to AI indexers, and you will be winning the game of SEOs with your website.
Thanks, Jules. That's a good thing. You said something about even the AI search engines too. When they're all responding back and you're giving good quality, most people receive that quality in form of links, images, audio, video. It could be even images themselves. And when you mentioned alt text, alternative text, yes. Even in emails, you can add alternative text in emails. On social media, almost every social media platform now, if not all of them, also focus on screen reading. They focus on accessibility. They focus on those specific key things that we may not see them, but those are visual elements that even enhance the profile of your account. Because the more you're able to give context to those little things that matter, then the big things that also matter to you will also play a big part. Because if you leave it blank, then the algorithm will actually just rewrite it for you or leave it as is. And then you lose out because you're not getting more context. So it's what people don't see that people actually appreciate, because when they see what they actually see. They know that they took, or you took the time to actually get to that point that you are, because people don't see you when you're working hard, with sleepless nights, you're burning the midnight oil, you're just going in, you're working, you're doing a lot of things that people don't see, but they don't see those hours of dedication, those hours of research, those hours of thinking, of planning, of strategizing, but they only see the awards, they only see the accolades, they only see the applause. That's great. But when you hear all these successful people out here talk about how they learn from their failures more than they do from their successes, you wonder, should you be afraid of success, or should you be afraid of failure, or should you even be afraid at all? I don't think you should, but most people kind of dwindle in between that. What do you think, Julie, when it comes to facing their fears and, acting on faith?
I don't even think of it. I just jump. I'm like jumping out of the plane every single time I make a decision. I don't make dumb decisions, but if you overthink things, that is not a strength in my mind. It is totally something that will hold you back. So, ask the right questions, but don't overthink it, because if you do, you're going to end up with a lot of regrets when you take your last breath, and you're going to be like, why didn't I do it? Why did I not do it? What do you think? Hey, Lois, Low, Mama Low, come on up here and talk about. Here she is. She has no idea what to talk about websites, but she's going to come up here.
Nope. Here's what I do, right? Yay, favor. Welcome everybody. I always come in this room because these experts know so many good tips and tricks and everything for websites. I stay away from the IT stuff. I put that in the hands of more knowledgeable people, because it is extremely important to have a good website. And I know that mine needs a little revitalization, so I'm looking at that, and I've been having that in the back of my mind. But even getting started, you have to have a starting place. And before I came on here, I didn't have an Ever Mindful LLC. I didn't have a Ever Mindful website. I didn't have an Ever Mindful in real life event. I didn't have an Ever. You do these things and you take them step by step, and you listen to the people that know the tips and the tricks. That's how I got my perspective. And hanging around Julie and Favor, like, she's the creative con queen. So just let you know, there's an amazing opportunity to get some extra knowledge coming in this February in Chicago. I'm just giving her a shameless plug, but I will say that they are the professionals. I have no idea what to tell you about websites other than find someone and work with them collaboratively on whatever you want your purpose and your message to be, so that it's clear and concise on your website and streamlined. But anything other than that, that's all I got for you guys for today.
But you need a website, right, Lois?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you don't have a website, if you don't have a website, it's like you're not even real. It's almost like I can't even trust you because you don't have a website. That's so weird. And I'd love to know if the people in the audience, if you have websites, share the links in the chat, because I'd love to check them out, if that's okay with Favor. This is his room, and I'm just chatting away with Lois.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, please put it in the chat. If you have a website, let's talk about that, because I can easily check that for you. And you can also go to, actually, let me say this. Now that we're talking about this, go to gtmetrics with an X.com. gtmetrics.com. That's a good place for you to check in your website and see. You can get a free report and just do a health check and see how your website is performing as well. So we'll definitely get that in. So yeah, let's talk about that. I actually wanted to talk about something too when it comes to websites, as people are putting their websites in the chat. Oh, I see. Lois, thank you, Steve. Thank you for being here, Steve, as well. I see you, Lisa, Kim, Keisha, Mike, Alex. Thank you all for being here. Malcolm, too. Thank you for being here. Happy Monday. There's something called CDN. CDN. And this is going to be a technical term. I'm going to break it down like it's ABC. CDN. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. And these are direct ranking factors that search engines like Googlebot, because we're talking about Google has so many data centers. So you could be ranking in google.co.uk and you may not be ranking in google.co.za, or you could be ranking in both of them, but at different thresholds. So when you now start looking at your CDN, it's a factor that is very important that actually focuses on the website speed. And that's based on the images that you have also on your website. Because when you have a CDN, that CDN is where you're actually uploading images. So I'll give you an example. And I'm going to use two different website setups because we build websites across different platforms. So I'm going to use WordPress and I'm going to use Wix. So with WordPress, when you build a website with WordPress, there are different things within WordPress. So about 43% of the total number of websites in the world, there are 1.1 billion websites in the world. And out of those 1.1 billion websites in the world, 43% of them are on WordPress. Most medical websites, government websites, school websites, your website, business websites, most of them use WordPress. Majority of them. Open source, reasons, privacy reasons, just to control your intellectual property and also have a good layer of security as well for you. That's one. So when you look at WordPress, inside WordPress, there's Elementor. Welcome, Steve. There's Elementor, there's Divi. These are platforms that you can use to build out your website, right? Within those, I'll call them those elements. So when you now have this done, whenever you're uploading something, right, going back to CDN, content delivery network, why is it even called a network in the first place? Because I like to break this down. It's a network because when you upload an image on WordPress, and I'm going to go to Wix next. When you upload an image on WordPress, it says select a file, and then it tells you your maximum image size file limit is X. So you might say 2 megabytes or it might say 2 gigabytes. That CDN, that content delivery network that you're looking at in that subscript is always in gray on WordPress. When you look at that fine print and you see that that's exactly what would tell you how much space your website can get, it means that that's also the capacity you can receive. So think about it like context engineering. So within that CDN, when you upload an image from your local drive or from your hard drive or from your cloud drive into your website CDN, you're uploading images into that platform, and then you're using those images and then you bring them to your website. Kind of like you upload an image. I want to use this image. Then I accept. Then I click OK, and that image pops out of the CDN into your website. So anyone on your website can see the same image you uploaded from your network. Now on WordPress, there's a file name too. Every website does this as well. Your image has a file address. So if your address is abc.jpg, right? That means your JPEG file has the file name of ABC. So if you have the right keywords, the right names, the right things that you want to insert there, and you upload that into your CDN, that's an indirect SEO tactic you can use, like what Julie was talking about with alternative text, that when you now upload that into your WordPress, on the right side, there's a section that says caption. It will actually show you the in bold, it will show you the file name and the extension file. And then on top of that, it's going to show you exactly how that image looks when it comes to the size. Like for example, with podcast, if you listen to this and you have a podcast or you do podcasting, your image file or your cover art should be 3000 by 3000 pixels. That should be the standard. So when you now look at other platforms and you see having larger dimensions within pictures, it's a bigger way for you to have a bigger real estate on images. Because I think about Pinterest too, and I think about this, because you're creating larger images for a larger audience. Think about it like this. Imagine if you had the same text on a piece of paper. You had the same text on a cardboard. You had the same text on a billboard. It's going to have a different effect across the board. So when you think about marketing and creating content with your images, Your images can still have a small compressed file, even though it has a wide dimension. You're not losing data, you're not losing quality, you're just regaining that because you're also caring about your server speed. So when you upload those things into your CDN, that's how it shows up on the internet. Same thing applies to Wix. If you go to Wix, it's called a Wix library, right? In the Wix library, you choose your file, you upload the file, and you do the same thing. That's what's going to happen when you upload those files, because when people are downloading your image or downloading your website, they're downloading everything in between. So it's really very important to think about where your CDN is and how you do it indirectly for SEO purposes, because if you have a lot of images that's stored up there and it's taking a lot of your space, at some point it's going to slow down your website. Yes, somebody that's viewing your website from the front may say, yeah, of course, I like your website and I see it, but it's loading slow, and it's also loading slow on the back end. So those things can really hurt your website. So I'm talking about these things because we always talk about the exciting things in life. Oh, how do you rank on Google? How do you rank on ChatGPT? Sometimes we got to bring this back and say, okay, well, how do we solve these problems so we don't have the same mistakes or create the same scenarios? So I'm excited that we're here talking about it. And Steve and Alex are in the room. Thank you so much for being here. Steve, I'll pass it to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and then come to you, Alex. Welcome.
Oh, Favor, I'm just here to support you, buddy, and Julie and Lois. You guys are amazing people on this app and doing amazing things. And so, as always, I'm just trying to come in and give you some love and tell you that I'm here to support you. I'm usually working in the background, and this morning I was getting ready for I'm getting ready for a big festival. There's a big festival at Cranberry Fest. It's in Warrens, Wisconsin. It's a three-day festival. It's huge, and so I'm actually been bottling all day. And then Julie, on the back channel, I would love to talk to you about Creative Con. So if you want to send me an email, javatwistllc@gmail.com. javatwistllc@gmail.com.
And I think I've talked to you before, Steve. I mean, like, I just realized you're in Pewaukee, which isn't too far from Chicago. I mean, it would be so cool to showcase Java Twist somehow.
I want to try that so bad, Julie.
It
All
tastes
right.
good.
You've had it before, Favor?
Amazing.
Where did you
I
have it?
ordered it. We actually, Steve and I, we had an interview. We had a podcast, and after the podcast, I said I definitely want to, try this out, and he sent it over, and it was amazing. I did a whole video and everything. It was nice.
Steve, at least you need to come and meet Favor and Lois for sure. It's not even that far. Chicago,
Absolutely.
but I would love to do something, maybe even a tasting. That would be really freaking cool
Yeah.
too. I don't know. We can get creative. That's what we do. But I don't know. But I didn't realize you're friends with all my friends. So that's awesome. I'm teasing. That's amazing.
We're all in this together.
What's that, Steve? I have to go write it down. I'm outside by my fountain, so I'm relaxing, but I'll go inside and I'll write it down.
Steve, put it in the chat.
I just was wondering when the fest is. When is Creative Con?
Creative Con.
Again, hear me, or am I going in and out? Maybe it's me.
Okay, you're good now.
Oh, it's February 20th through the 22nd in Chicago, Michigan Avenue, Intercontinental Hotel. I'll email you, Steve.
Let's go. Yeah, definitely. We're going to make this happen 3 times in a row. Hey, next year is going to be amazing. Creative Con. Thank you, Julie Lewis.
Favor's
Steve.
always like, I've met you more than anybody else on Clubhouse. Let's make this 5 million times.
Yeah, Julie, it's becoming a record breaker now. It's kind of like, when does it stop? So I'm excited, super excited. Thank you for being here, Alex. Good morning. Thanks for being here. You have such a cute dog. We love to hear from you. Any thoughts? The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. I honestly haven't been on Clubhouse in a really long time, but I appreciate you guys letting me join in on the conversation. I am on the West Coast in San Diego, but I am from the Midwest. I grew up in Minnesota, so all the talk about Chicago and Wisconsin brings me back. So I love all those festivals, especially in the fall, like apple orchard festivals, cranberry festival, all that. That's awesome. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to chime in on the CDN and potentially like expand that conversation a little bit because I know a little bit about it and I do marketing and advertising strategy with clients. I currently have an SEO client um, that's in the digestive health space, and they have 6 websites, and they don't have a very good CDN. Actually, they don't have a CDN. They are just hosting on WordPress, and they don't have a content delivery network that's like something like Cloudflare or another one that would compress a lot of their files. But my understanding of a CDN is that it stands between your CMS, which is WordPress, which tells you where all your files go and how they interact with each other, and then uh, your DNS records, which is like the map of where your domain points, and the CDN kind of stands in between those two, from my understanding. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it like takes whatever's on the CMS, compresses it, and then caches it so that it continues to be available and served like very quickly. So it turns all your images into WebP files. It caches some of the data so that when you're like loading recent blog posts, that it's like readily available and like very high speed. So I know Cloudflare is one of those CDNs, and then I know of like maybe one or two others. Um, and then the other thing I know about CDNs is when I'm using Ahrefs, which is an SEO tool that I love to use. Um, you can actually combine a CDN with your SEO efforts of like changing titles of pages or meta descriptions. And you can integrate some JavaScript code or interact directly with your CDN to make those changes on the CDN side, where it changes the code on how like the internet sees it. Whereas like if you're trying to change everything within WordPress, like the very like static options, I guess, that like if you have a bunch of like let's say you have like 100 pages that like their page title is too long and you need to shorten them. Well, going through 100 pages is really tedious. And so what Ahrefs allows you to do is it allows you to shorten those page titles on kind of like a spreadsheet with AI, where it'll help you shorten those, and then you kind of just approve those. And then once those are all set, you can then push those via JavaScript from your CDN, and it actually shows the page titles to the Google search results instead of your WordPress like actual page titles. So I thought that was kind of cool for like little hacks, and I'm still learning a lot about it, but that's kind of what my knowledge is around CDNs, CMSs, and DNS records.
Thank you, Alex. Great breakdown. That's definitely, I love how you said that, especially when it comes to getting servers to respond back to the system when you're also creating content, like with the clients that you mentioned with their CDN, and what's creating back into the system, because anything that they're creating from the source is also being represented on other platforms. When I think about tokenization, which is just another way of saying a duplicate copy of your content into another website. So your original is on your website, but you have a copy on Google because you have an index page that is ranking based on a sitemap last modification setting. So when you look at those little technical things, it also creates the flow into knowing, okay, where where am I going to build, and how does that even connect both into, both factors, whether it's coming from a website or from a server, or how it's even being delivered within that network as well. And Mike said, I love CDN too. Yeah, Mike, it's really, really good. When you think about CDN, Content Delivery Network, for those who are hearing this for the first time, that's why I wanted to go a little technical today, so I could just cover it full circle. There are two types of CDN networks, or two types of servers within a CDN network. There's an origin server and there's an edge server. So an origin server is really where your website comes from, your content originates from. So that's the same way I talked about tokenization. So just within a different dimension. So this is where it stores all the files and data that makes up your website. So for example, we talked about uploading an image to WordPress. Now that image that is being shown on your website is coming from a CDN. It's on your website as a display, but when you really look at the technical foundation, if that image was not within your CDN, it would not show up on your website. So they have to work together. So your origin server is where your website content originates from. So that's where everything stems from to begin with. That's why you have a file image, and that's why it has a file extension. So you go on a website, let's say you use a Chrome browser, you right click, or if you use a Mac, use your two fingers, and then you get to where it says inspect element. When you inspect the element and you look at the JPEG, you see the location it's coming from. That's going to tell you also how that media file user type has also been identified, like you talked about with the JavaScript, because all these contents that we're doing online is based on, content scripts, and how JavaScript is also reading back into the algorithm. So that's one, the origin server. The edge server is a little different. This is where it's now strategically located at multiple geographical locations. At the same time, this is where it's actually acting as the intermediary between the origin server, which is your website, and the end user, which is the person that is on your website originally. So if you think about it, they're working hand in hand, because if nobody's visiting your website, there's no edge service, if that makes sense, because somebody has to be on the other side of the network to receive your image. So when someone's loading up your website and your website is loading slow, that's because your CDN is compressed, actually uncompressed. It's full of information, but it's also full of sizes that could have been compressed by 90%. And you could have saved that. You can use a website like compressor.io. Compressor.io. That's a platform you can use for free. And it has a limit of 10 megabytes. So for every image, you can put up to however many you want, but the size limit is 10 megabytes. So if you don't use Adobe, I use Adobe Creative Cloud. But if you don't use Adobe, you can use a platform like that. I actually have another website too that I could share with you. Yes, you can also use iloveimg.com. iloveimg.com. This is a tool that is going to be great for you. And Lucas says, I just came to the chat, please use SVG and not PNG for icons. Yes. Thank you for saying that. These things are so important, because when you think about these records, these are file extensions and they're all saying something. And if you give it a wrong incentive or wrong signal, it's not going to drive the right message. So it's really important to look at these things. So thank you for highlighting that, Lucas. I put in the chat, I love IMG. That's a website you can use. And I'll also give you a bonus on that for those who, love content. There's something called ilovepdf.com. You can also go there if you love PDFs. That's a website you can check. These are free tools you can use as well. So it's actually crazy that Clubhouse is saying that I can't put it in the chat. I love pdf.com because I love img.com is the same. It looks like someone has already said that already, and I did say it, but it's probably picking the same URL. That's weird. But yeah, I love img.com. I can't put the second link in the chat. I'm sorry. Sorry, Clubhouse. I love pdf.com. That's the next website. Alex, you're welcome. Yeah, so these are the two servers and this is how it works. But if you're able to capture these things and catch them early, then your website is going to be like butter. It's just going to be smooth. It's going to be clean. It's going to be healthy. It's going to be active. It's going to be responsive. It's going to be really good. And that's how you're able to really see these things. Because websites, they're like, you have to manage them. If you're not managing them, somebody has to be managing them for you. Because some things could happen. I got a call this morning from a client. We've worked with them for a year, and then they wanted to, take a break and also get things together because we were able to scale them up. Now, from there, they came back and reached back to me. I got a call this morning and he's like, hey, I'm getting requests on my website, but I can't access the information. I'm like, huh? So I'm like, wait, that's weird. So I now asked him, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? And he has ownership of the website, but he can't even access it because the person that he was working with didn't really give him all the information until the very last minute. And then we had to come in and help, reset everything. And we sent him the emails, but now he can't still access it. So I was like, this is confusing. So he's getting orders, and how he even got to know about it is that someone that's close to him told him about it. And that's how he reached out to me this morning and said, hey, Favor, I'm getting stuff here, but I can't reach it. And I'm like, the only way you can access this information is if you have access to your cPanel, if you have access to your WordPress. And that's what he's trying to do now. That's what we're trying to fix. And that's why I always say when you handle your projects, when you handle your business, those access codes are so important. I treat those things very sensitively because those are passwords and accesses that you can't trace, and you have to make sure you have, protection at all times. Yes, Alex.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I was just working with another client and they didn't even have their domain in their GoDaddy account. So the developer had several of their domains and they didn't realize that a domain is like one of the most important things to have ownership over because it controls your emails and your website and your files and a lot of things. And if you don't have access to your domain or your CDN or your WordPress, CMS, whatever, Squarespace, Wix, whatever, like I highly recommend that if you don't have a website and you're thinking about starting a website, that you go and work with someone who teaches you how to open those accounts under your name and not like having a developer open those accounts for you and then giving you access, because there's a lot of times that I've run into this where I'm helping a client and they've been just screwed over by a web developer because the web developer wants a guaranteed income or recurring income. And so therefore they hold things hostage and get very sour if you want to move away from that web developer and use someone else. So it's really crucial. And this is sadly more common than I thought it was going to be. So I appreciate you mentioning that. That's super important. And then I'm going to actually hop off here soon, but I also wanted to mention just like using Google's page speed insights is really helpful. And then I've learned a lot from Ahrefs for SEO, and they have a lot of cool YouTube videos, and their platform is really great to use. And just like the technical SEO portion of SEO is very tedious, but it does make a difference. Like you don't have to be creating content in order to see results for an increase in organic traffic. You can fix a lot of your links. You can make redirects, delete redirects, internal redirects, like change your links to be secure instead of HTTP. You can switch them to HTTPS. Any of those like fixes and stuff make a huge difference. So making sure that you start with like the most critical things, and page speed is definitely one of those. So thanks, Favor. I appreciate you having me on here.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you for being here too. I'm so glad I'm not the only one talking about this. It's so good. It's refreshing because sometimes I'm like, is he saying the same? Yeah, it's a real thing. So thank you so much, Alex, for bringing that to us today.
Of course. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
You have hosting websites and all these things. Everybody has their own website, plan, and I've seen a lot. Like we've literally saved the day for some clients, and we're just like, how did y'all get into this? But at the same time, you don't know what you don't know, and when it comes to access control and quality, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I look at intellectual property and I say, hey, okay, you can create those things, build websites, have those things, and done hosting. It's great. But I also want to make sure that when you're also thinking about the long-term game, It's not just about where you're placing something, but how you're displaying it on the network that's receiving all these signals. Because a time is coming when, we're moving to Web3. So when you start creating content and also owning your domain, your top level domain stuff, owning your hosting, owning your websites, your CMS, there's something that actually is consistent between the CDN and the CMS. A CMS is a content management system, right? Which is Wix, WordPress. It was just said just now. Shopify, name them. The CDN is a content delivery network. So the major keyword that is pretty much repetitive or consistent across the two terms is content. So if your content is important to you, then you would also care about your security, and you also care about your authority and your credibility to go with. So these are things to not forget, because SEO, we hear SEO and we're like, oh yeah, SEO is great, rank on Google. No, SEO is beyond that. SEO is security. SEO is stability. It's showing up online because Google trusts you. Google wouldn't trust you if you don't have a padlock on your website. So there's some things that you have to have a secure website for to gain that security, which Google can escalate to now a place that you can actually see on the web service. So it's very important to look at that as well. Rocky, how are you? Thanks for being here. Any thoughts, topics, or questions about the topic of the day?
Nope, because I know nothing about it, so I'm just here to listen and learn. I know something about it, but not like what you know.
Love you, Rocky. Thanks for being here. No, I'm glad that we had this topic today, and make sure we catch this straight, because content is very key, and we want to put this in a position where we're able to do this the right way. This is the last thing I'll say before we go. We've talked about hosting. We've talked about pictures. We've talked about extensions. We've talked about CDN. We've talked about so many things. We haven't talked about videos, and I'll just break this down really quickly. Do not, for the love of God, please do not upload videos on your website. Please. If you want to do anything video related, you have two options. You might have a third option if you're creative, but these are the two major options that I would see. If you have, let's say you want to have this, and we've seen it with websites and we built it, where you want to have this nice aesthetically pleasing website that looks good and it's like a video, it's just running through, right? I wouldn't upload an MP4, I'll upload a GIF. So turn your MP4 into a GIF and then use that GIF as an upload so that you can compress your file and not have to worry about the size and the limits. Or two, if you really want to have video on your website, you can embed from YouTube. So go to YouTube, get the video, embed it, create a section on your website that's really nice, clean, crisp, that someone can click on. It's not in the way of your design. It has a good user experience, and that way you're able to allow someone to click on it and they can view your video. But please do not upload video files, because the same way you're uploading image files, imagine video files 10 times more in terms of weight. So if you think a 5 megabyte picture is not going to do any problem, think about a 50 megabyte video that's less than 30 seconds and how that is slowing down your website times 3. So just think about those things, but also do your research and also learn about how these things play a big role into your website loading speed. So yeah, check out Google Page Speed Insights, check out Google Lighthouse, check out gtmetrics.com. These are websites that you can check out today with an X, metrics, and start checking them out and seeing what you do. Go to Siteliner, SITELINER.com, and also do your audits. These are very free websites that I'm telling you that you can actually check for yourself. And then when you do your audit, you're like, oh, okay, now I see what's wrong. Okay, let's fix it. That's how you fix it. But if you don't fix it, it's still going to be there when you need to fix it. But if you don't care, that's great. That's cool. But the moment you need it and you actually see that your emails that you're sending are getting bounce rates, or they're getting flagged, or they're getting low click rates, or they're getting I'll call it high spam, it's just going to be going back to the basics, which is what we've talked about all today technically. So yeah, don't skip this point, because if you want to have high percentages, it's going to really help. Like I've seen clients that have over 30,000 email list subscribers, and they're getting huge average scores with open rates and click rates because they're driving millions of impressions on their websites. It's an indirect, direct reflection of everything you do. So none of them go inexistent of each other. They actually coexist because they actually work hand in hand to get that same result. So it's very important to look at that. John, we'd love to hear from you too. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. Before we go, any thoughts about speed, and why would you say someone's website would be loading slowly technically?
Well, hello guys. Beautiful Monday. Loading slowly. Gosh, that's a great question. There's lots going on there. Yeah, I didn't hear the whole conversation, but what I do is just look at the code. My process of loading slowly is going to a piece of software, a tool, right? Got to have tools. And I use many tools, but one of the tools I like is called GT Metrics. So just pop your website into GT Metrics. So it's GT Metrics, METRIX, I believe. You just Google that. Pops up. It's a free tool. Pop it in there, and it'll give you like kind of a waterfall readout of, like, in other words, as it loads, it'll give you what it's loading or not loading, and then it'll give you suggestions like, hey, you have a 4 gig photo in there, you can reduce the photo size. You have a YouTube video embedded. So there's all kinds of different reasons, but you can use these tools to help yourself or help your client get better at load time. So that's my tip, and yeah, all's good. See ya.
Thank you, John. Wow. I feel like this room has just echoed everything that I've said from the beginning. It was said earlier. Alex said it. John has said it again. It's like I said it before and you've heard it from somebody else. And they didn't plan to say it, and that's how it happened. And this room was not scripted. It's not planned. It's just a perfect blend. So thank you so much for reading that.
I guess, here's me trying to be a little bit funny. So guys, just bear with me. But I mean, you could call me, call Favor, and you could hire us, and that's how you could figure it out. You could see like, hey, I need to figure this out. But that's what we do. And then of course there's more to it, right? Like if you have a bad host, like over the years, I'm sure that you've seen like the $2 hosting thing, where like you have a hosting company that puts 10,000 people on their server. That could be a problem too. But yeah, if someone hires me or hires Favor, that's our process. We go in, we look at how it's built. What'd you build it on? Your hosting. How, like, did you add a really huge video, or did you, there's all kinds of different reasons, but yeah. Anyways, I just trying to be a little funny, but yeah, Monday humor, maybe not funny.
No, that was perfect, John. You put the icing on the cake. And that was just a perfect ribbon that you just put today. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. With that said, y'all, I hope this helped you. Technical SEO, why my website is loading slowly. Now you know why it's loading slowly. And Noah's in the room. Noah hasn't been here. Thank you for being here, Noah. Wow, what a surprise. Thank you for spending time with us today. It's been a great time. We've been here for an hour and just wanted to let you guys know that these things are possible to fix. They're error messages, but they don't have to stay like error messages. They could be better. And the better it gets, the better for you. And everything that has been said is something that you can check for yourself and see if it works. Even Mike said it too. Yeah, GT Metrics is awesome for measuring. When you definitely understand what you're working with, it's great. Think about it. You don't build a house before you measure the dimensions. It just makes sense. So I think when you really think about your digital real estate, your intellectual property, and your asset acquisition, it all falls into these components, these essentials. Where do you host? Where do you plant? Where do you build your house? Is it on sinking sand or is it on a solid foundation? So it's really up to you. But at the end of the day, the choice is yours. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you, Julie, Rocky, John, Lucas, Nick, Shay, Mike, Sarah, Sasha. Thank you for being here as well, Noreen. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to be back. I haven't been here for a week, so I'm definitely back again, and I'll be definitely doing a room with you tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be talking about what's the best way to structure internal links. We're going to talk about that one. That's going to be saucy. So we'll be here and we'll talk about this topic. And if you catch the replay, if you're listening to the Marketing Club, you'll see it as well here too. So thank you for being here. Have a blessed Monday. Enjoy a great week. And I'm going to see you guys in the next episode. Bye. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Bye.